Hi guys, I'm Summer.
And I'm Carolina.
And we're sleep consultants.
For 21 years combined and really great friends for like 2 months.
We have our own kids. I have 2 kids over 18.
And I have 2 kids under 18.
We have worked with over 1,000 families combined. That's a lot of kids.
That's so many kids. And we also run our own sleep consulting practices and we mentor other sleep consultants.
That's a lot of things that we do.
Yeah, but you know what? Our goal really is to bring peace and less stress into your homes.
And that's why we decided to do a podcast together. Call it For the Love of Sleep.
I just love that. So if you guys want some sleep tips, laugh, and know how we get through all these things, come on down and listen to our podcast.
Hey, this is Summer from Summer Sleep Secrets.
And I'm Carolina Romaniuk. That's it.
All right.
It's like a long thing.
So we're just talking in regards before we start recording about the weather. So what's the weather like in New York right now?
No, it's been weird. Like I was saying how someone posted on my page where they showed like the calendar, like the weekly days. And last week it was like in the 50s, like low 40s almost. And then this week it's all like in the 60s. So they said, what is it like hell going into it? Because it's also like, election week. We had the time change, which happens here, but summer, it never happened for you. Blessings to you, because I'm still trying to catch up with it. And then we also had a full moon and Halloween, all this like within a couple of days. So I was just like laughing on that when she said, so what's next? Hell? I'm like, I'm just waiting for the aliens to show up.
That's why everyone's going to Costco and buying up all the toilet paper. I'm like, what the heck? It was like, now we're all sold out at the grocery store yesterday. I'm like, this is beyond
toilet paper
crazy. Again, the craze of toilet paper is gone. I'm like,
I don't know.
Right, we get the crappy stuff.
My son was watching Supergirl. I think it was on Netflix yesterday. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching it with him. And he goes, and they're talking about like aliens, how they invaded Earth, and how Supergirl says, I'm the champion of Earth. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for them to show up. Like, and I see how they have like the spaceships in the sky. Yeah. And I'm just envisioning it, like looking outside of my apartment window, because we're in the 23rd floor and you just see clouds in front. I'm envisioning like spaceships coming by. I'm like, it's gonna happen. Like when? And then I'm sitting there and we're watching. And I'm like, do you think that this could really happen? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, 2020 has showed us a lot of stuff. Like, what a surprise.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Here in Arizona, we are 85 degrees every day. Like, and then at night it gets down to 50, about 50. Well, this morning it was actually 65 when I left work. But if you talk about aliens, it's funny. We live between 2 major military bases where we live in the desert. So we have like where they had Prince Harry. We're right next to him, 20 minutes away from where his base was. So we get the shaking of the house all the time with the jets. They fly really low over our town. And it's like this, it's like whoosh. And it just like everyone just in the town will start, oh my gosh, they're redoing their reconnaissance or whatever. I mean, they're like all over. We also have where they do like these nightly jump out of planes in the desert just as their recon, like they're doing these like whatever they do to practice. But our mountains are very similar to Iraq, so you see them at night with flares on their jets as they jump out of the planes, and people are like, oh, there's aliens in the sky. I'm like, no, they're human men jumping out of planes, or women. I mean, so yeah, it's kind of funny in the desert. Everyone's like, oh, it's aliens. I'm like, no, it's not. It's a military base.
But can you see that from your house?
You can see them jumping, yeah, because they're going down on the mountain. They're jumping out of the plane into the mountains like they would in Iraq. Or not.
You got Iraq. Mountains.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we have mountains. You have
nice.
The city. I have mountains.
No, I don't have the city. I don't even have that. Like I'm living in like the rural area of it.
Yeah, it's crazy out here, but I mean, we only are 25 minutes from the airport in Phoenix. So we're not really like we have a really good spot where we are. But
That must be so
anyways,
beautiful to wake up and see mountains.
oh, we love it out here. I know. I think of moving and then I'm like,
Why?
yeah. It's been 14 years. I'm like, we're stuck.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, this is the time of year to live in Arizona because it's absolutely beautiful here. Yeah. This is the time. Of course, I can't use my pool. It's too cold. But yeah. Well, I guess I could use it
I'm
for
not
the
even
day.
going to I'm not even going to answer that. Like, I'm not even going to respond to that. It's too cold. Oh, wait, before we get into this, let me just say a really funny story. So when I was pregnant with my was it my first? Yeah, my first son, or second, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. It's not really part of the story. Anyway, so we were on a carnival, not a carnival. We were on a cruise. I don't remember the name of the cruise, but we were on a cruise, and I was 2 months pregnant. It was like raining. It was in January at the Bahamas, and it was like in the 60s. And I was in my bathing suit. My husband was in his bathing suit. Our friends were in our bathing suit. In New York, it was like 30 or 40 degrees.
Right.
Everyone that lived in the Bahamas, like the residents, were wearing like their winter coats that we wear when it's like 20 degrees. And then you have these like silly people, that's the best word I'll use right now if there are children watching this, coming out in their bathing suits, mind you, a pregnant one, like trying to go in the water. And all I'm telling my husband is like, they're freezing. It's like 65 degrees. I refuse to put on more clothes than my bathing suit because it is hotter here than it is back home. Plus, you know, when you're pregnant, you just get hotter faster anyway. So I thought that was really funny because when you're saying that it's like 60 degrees by you and it's too cold, I'm like, oh, please. That's like a hot tub for me.
Totally get it. No, it's really weird. Like I'm noticing I'm wearing a sweater. It's literally, but it's 85 degrees out, which is like whether we can roll our windows down. But you know, we had over 100 days of over 120 degrees. Well, not 120, but 100 and like between 110 and 115, 100 days of that. And then October hit and bam, we went to 60. It was like yesterday was 120, the next day it was 60. It was like, we didn't even get any warning.
That's insane. But I think that because we were originally going to be talking about a topic, I think that maybe since we're talking about temperature, maybe we could swap and use that topic that we were going to talk about for another day. I think that maybe right now, since we're talking about temps, what about talking about, you know, where you live and what the temperature in the room should be for being warm? Because I had a couple of clients tell me, you know, I think they live in, it was a while ago, they lived in Texas and it's like 100 and, you know, something normally there. Not normally, but like it's a higher temperature.
Warm.
And because the AAP states like between 68 and 72 degrees, they can't get it down to that amount. And if they're so used to such a warm climate, to get it down to like 72, it's like me asking, you know, for me to put my room like at 30 degrees. So what would you say, you know, depending on like where you live, like what would be a really great temperature?
So okay. So if it's, well, let's say it's a colder temp, so the air changes. So we don't use air conditioning anymore. We're using heat. So we want to make sure that the crib or the bed is not underneath a vent. That's a major thing because if it starts blowing down air on them, they can get over hot and wake up, or they can get over cold, depending upon your temp. If it's a warm, like if it's cold outside, let's say 30 degrees, and it's a snowstorm or it's chilly, you're going to have your heat set. I would still have it set to like 73 or 74 and no higher than that, because your temperature in your house will stay that equal amount and it'll get cooler and then come back up. I would do that.
Yeah. I had a client one time that told me her daughter likes to sleep in Jamaican hot heat. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, is it like 80s, 90s? Yeah. So she's like, she sleeps so good, but like when it's like 80 something, I'm like, okay. So we just had to kind of make sure. But the reason why it was high, it was because in her house, the windows were not properly sealed. So there was like a draft. So she would make the heat more intensified. And she didn't realize that until like I did an in-home consult. And, you know, like when we were there, we get on all fours, we check everything, you know, right? Yep. So like when I did that, she'd look at me and she'd say, why are you like, you know, putting your hand over there, like where the window is, just like to kind of feel the draft. And then I told her that and she's like, you know, I was thinking about it, but I didn't really put like 2 and 2 together. Once we seal the window, it was much better. But temperature does play a big role.
It's a huge role. Like I've seen a lot of parents, you know, you have to play with it. Like some children like it warm. Some kids really like it warm. So having it higher is okay. But I always suggest having a fan because then there's airflow no matter what. Like I know I've seen recently where I don't know what sleep training program it is or who they are, but they suggested no fan. And I'm like, absolutely not. I mean, a fan is important for airflow because the child isn't breathing their own air in when they're on their tummy. Like we want air to go around, circulate. So, yeah, I mean, air temperature, I don't mind if it's warm and the baby sleeps better warm. That's okay. Just make sure they're not sweating. Like if they're sweating and like overly hot, then that's a form that could really, it could hurt them in the long run. So we want to make sure that
no overheating,
protect them. We don't want to have any SIDS or anything like that happen.
Yeah. What happens if they're cool on the body, but their head sweats? My son did that a lot. Like his head just like always sweat.
Yeah, but that's where all the heat escapes.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just and it can also be their hands are freezing. They'll have steam coming out of their head and their hands and their feet are freezing. So it's like,
yeah. And you keep running in the room trying to like, you know, figure out like how to make it warmer, what like to take off like extra clothing and you're just like playing hot potato the whole night.
Right. It's like, okay, so you do have to play with it based on your child's temper, like not temper, but their temperature. And, you know, we all have the guideline because everything's a guideline. Even our sleep plans are guidelines. But you have to figure out based on your child's like comfort zone.
That's good. Where would you put a fan? Like in the middle of the room?
Oh yeah, I know. I have these fancy houses out here where like it's chandeliers in the bedroom and I'm just like, okay. Well, if you have a chandelier, then get a rotating fan, just a small rotating fan in the corner works just fine. I've even brought a little teeny makeup fan that you have for your counter where I've worked in home with clients and they keep the air up high and I'm having menopause issues. So I'm like burning up. And so excuse me, as I choke. Anyway,
you're okay.
I'll put yeah, it's like a smoker cough.
Fine.
I do not smoke. Anyways, so I would put the fan right next to me and then it would blow on me at night because I literally die in these houses. I'm just like, oh my God. I was in Philly with a job and it was cozy in the house. It was probably like 76. But outside you stepped out, it was minus 30. It was the coldest season they've ever had. It was December 31st. It was so like none of us wanted to go outside. So we literally stayed for 6 days in the house or the condo. And it was ridiculously cold. And so, you know, but 76 felt great. So, you know, 72 to 68 is a guideline. Sometimes based on how cold it is outside, we have to keep it at a higher temp. But definitely having a standing fan or an above fan, even though people don't like above fans because I don't know why, but they don't like them. But you can get a standing fan.
My husband had one.
After I have choking, you know, my choking episode. That's what I'm going to say.
Your choking episode. No, my husband had the ceiling fan when we were dating. Whatever. I'm not going to go into that. That's another story.
I'm like, wow, really? Let's go into that subject.
No, it's okay.
Ceiling fan in his bedroom when you're dating. Okay.
I'll be quiet. No, it's a ceiling. He didn't have a mirror. He had a ceiling fan.
A ceiling mirror. No, yeah, I know. We have a ceiling fan in our bedroom. It goes all the time.
Big deal. But remember when I was telling you how we were looking like for a new place because we live in a 2-bedroom apartment right now. We're looking for a house, and how I don't know what these people were thinking of, but remember when I told you we walked into one house where they had mirrors on the ceiling and everywhere, and I told you it was probably because they wanted to make the bathroom look bigger, and you're like, no, honey, it's not the reason for it.
No, there's no
they literally had mirrors everywhere, and I like when you told me this, I'm like, well then, I didn't really know how to respond.
But yeah, okay. So yeah, so we will just move out of that. Like that house had to be burned. That's all I have to say. There was a lot to that house, you said.
No, it was lovely for someone else, just not for us.
No.
But I really don't know like how people build homes here in New York City. It just makes no sense. Like there's one, you walk in, you literally open up the door and you're like face first in where like the oven and the kitchen is. Like literally, like you come in, hello, here's the kitchen. Like you didn't even like
that was the front door.
Yeah, like you open up the door, you come in, and you don't come in, like you just put your 2 feet in and you haven't even closed the door yet, and there's like the kitchen staring right at you in your face. Not like far away, but I mean like in your face.
Yeah, in your face. Oh my god. Well, now we're getting into whole shopping of houses, but we'll leave you guys with the temperature idea. Just make sure that your child is where they're comfortable and not overly cold, not overly hot. So we want that perfect temperature for them. And then next week we'll go further into house shopping with Carolina. I mean, seriously, we need to go into house shopping with you.
House shopping. My son thinks that because he's so tired of looking at houses, he's like, just buy one already. And I'm like, sweetheart, it's not like you're buying a sweater, because he imagines it like you just give a credit card and you just go off about your day. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
Is this Ari?
No, that was my youngest one. Ari likes to go because he likes to take me by the hand and he's like, okay, if you like this, this is where we're going to do this. This is where my room is going to be. And he likes to like imagine everything. But my youngest makes sense, right? Like, why would an 8-year-old want to go house shopping? And it's not even house shopping. It's like house browsing and whatever. I don't know.
I keep trying to reimagine my client's house, and I want to so badly hit a hammer on their kitchen because it's so small, and he's a baker, and I'm like, this is the worst house ever for a baker. I'm like, we've sat up Saturday night talking about how to make pies because he was making multiple pies, and I was like, oh Lord. Like anyways, we got to go. Our time's up, so we're gonna go ahead and talk to you guys next week. Another new subject.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Sweet dreams.